All right, everyone. So what we're going to be doing today is learning how to, or in this section, we've learned how to use schematics to connect different levels to each other, so that if you move one level, if it's a parent level, it can affect other levels. But a lot of times, what can happen is that will not have your object move how it would move in real life. So, for instance, I have this character. And she has this arm here. Okay, now if you know anything about your arm, it's like, well, as the old song goes, your forearm's connected, your bicep is connected to your forearm's connected to your hand, right? And so if I move my hand, really it's hard to do, unfortunately, because I'm not in front of a mirror, but if I was to, do it with yourself, when you move your hand, it really moves both this part and also my bicep moves up a little bit. And that's because of the bone structure we have. We have bones, but we also have muscles, and the muscles are pulling our arms back and forth. Okay. So what we're going to be doing today, or in this section, is learning how to use bones to help us create more realistic movement. All right. So I have this woman, and she has a hand, she has a forearm, and she has a bicep. Okay, so I'd want to make sure all my, parts are in their appropriate spot. Okay. And this is the main character. What I'm going to do is I want to set up the schematic here of the hand's going to be connected to the forearm are going to be connected to the bicep, and the bicep's connected to the main character. So I'm going to go to panels, and I'm going to go to schematic. I can kind of zoom in here. And as we said, it's like the hand is connected to the forearm, and the forearm is connected to the bicep, and the bicep is connected to the main character. Okay, so we're kind of showing the, the order of hierarchy here. So in theory, what that would mean, oops, and it's kind of moved some stuff around, so I might have to slightly, readjust some things here. Okay, so if I move the hand, it's like, okay, I'm moving the hand, but in real life, if you move the hand, like I said, the other parts would move. Now, if I move the the bicep, this moves, but this isn't quite the way, if I move my bicep, it's like, it's really moving the whole arm forward and backwards. This is what's referred to as inverse kinetics, okay? What I'm going to do is, if I click on one of the objects that I've applied in my schematics, I'm going to click on this bones, or the skeleton tool, and oops. I'm going to start with my main character. Oops, give me a second. I hit a Command Z and my schematic was off. So I've clicked on my bicep and I clicked on my bones tool, and what you'll see are these are the bones, okay, between my different objects. And what I'm going to do is click on inverse kinetics, and when I start to move the, I'm clicking on the actual, these gray bones, notice that when I move an object, it kind of if I move this up, it doesn't just move this one object, it kind of moves it the way that an arm would move. So this is really useful because it's it's a lot more realistic. It's kind of closer to how the human body actually works. So, and I can animate this. So I'm going to use the set key and just kind of move my arm around. And notice that when I move it, it kind of moves everything associated with that. Gives me a much more realistic kind of animation. I'm gonna click here. Let's empty fill. I'm going to do this fill empty frame so I can fill in all these levels really quickly. Oops. Oh, that's because I don't need that one anyway. So I'm going to go in here, and once again, it's like I'm moving the arm. Oops. Or I'll move the hand layer. And the other layers are animating and moving in the schematic of how a hand would really move. So, you know, the animation feels a lot more fluid because I have that built-in bone structure. Okay? So that's pretty nice, and it's built right into, you know, you could definitely see how if you were drawing a character and you wanted the character to kind of animate the way a real human would, this would be a really great tool. So here I have kind of a more, you know, sophisticated character. So there's like, this has a torso, upper arm, lower arm, hand, and I have the same on the other side. So once again, what I'm going to do is create a schematic. So I'm going to go to Panels, Schematic. So this is going to take a little second. So oops, this is the upper or lower right arm. Alright, so let's start with the torso. And then it's going to be upper right arm, upper left arm, or upper bicep, I should say. Then lower right arm, lower right arm, and then left hand, right hand. So I'm going to connect this to this, and then this to this, this to this, and this to this. So the torso connects to everything, but then these are the upper right and upper left, lower right and lower left, and then right hand and left hand. So these are set up properly. Oops, and I may have to... Looks like I'm going to have to readjust. Just getting these into position. To be honest, setting this up is probably the hardest part. Once you get to... Okay. Still a bit big. He's got kind of giant gorilla arms here, and monster arms, but that's a little better. That's a little closer to correct sizing. Alright, I did all that. Let's now kind of put in the bones. So I'm going to click on the torso, click on bones, and you can see it kind of goes down the level here. So it went here, 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 here. Okay. And that one I might have to redo a little bit. But you can see out here it's like, you know, I can quickly kind of animate his character. So let's say he picked up something he's going to eat. Let's take all of these. I'm going to highlight all of these, and let's go to frame. There we go. So I'm just extending these out so I can animate them, and I'll start with, you know, his hand. Because they're all connected, I can play around, and it's like, look how easy it was to animate this. You know, just by moving those, I'm animating the bones, not the individual parts, so it's like, okay. Can do the same for the other side. You know, I would animate the bones. In this case, I got I'm not sure, this reposition here, I believe is coming from his position point, or center point. So I believe if I change that, I believe that should have helped. Let's try that again. Yeah, there we go. So I'm going to make his hand wave. So it starts there. Rotate it to the side. Back. To the side. Alright. So you can see how bones here can really help with quickly animating multiple parts of this body here. In just a couple of seconds, I animated, you know, his forearm, his lower arm, his hand. I can animate them independently. I could have animated from here so that these don't move, you know. So you can use, you know, if his head was a separate thing, I could have animated his head going back and forth. So the point here is, you know, these are techniques that we can use to speed up the process of animating that doesn't require me doing things frame by frame. We've done that. You know the time and effort it gets into doing frame by frame. And not that, you know, is this type of animation is good? It's okay. It's not as smooth. It never will be quite as smooth as a frame by frame animation, but frame by frame animations take a lot of time. You know, you guys should hopefully know that by now. So hopefully this, you can kind of see how maybe you might want to incorporate some of this into your process.